In this video, I want to show you how to take your GPU fans from this to this. So if you watched my last video on the computer build, one of the things that I said that I did not like was the GPU fans. I spent extra money to get the vertical GPU holder so that I could show these fans off, show the graphics card off a little bit better than the normal position, and it's just not doing it for me. The way that these work, there are actually LEDs on inside of the fan on the back side, and there's like a little groove on the side of the fan, and that shines the light out towards this acrylic part that's on the outside. And with that, it's just not very bright. It hits the acrylic and it does light up, but when the rest of the tower is as bright as this one is, they just don't look good. So I figured out an option to a way that I could use something that we sell here at the shop that I can easily install without completely tearing down the graphics card or anything like that, and it will most definitely brighten everything up. There's another downside to these fans on this particular GPU. Right now I've forced the fans on in the settings, but by default they will turn off. When the fans turn off, the LEDs are actually off. So even as little bit of lighting as you have, it really only kicks on if you're doing something like a video game or editing video or something that is forcing it to kick into an overheat mode, where it's not overheating, but it's heating up, it's actually generating some heat, and it kicks the fans on to cool it down. Right now I've manually forced it on because the computer just sitting idle, it's not enough to kick these in. So for example, I went ahead and set the fans to automatic. They're turned off right now. The graphics card's just not getting hot enough. This little top section does still stay lit up, so that's kind of cool, but it's also not very eye-popping. It is somewhat subtle. You can see it if you're looking down at the tower, but I really want this front of the tower to shine, to pop out really good. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our dash kit strips. Now what's really cool, these are ARGB color order, just the same as everything else in the tower. So I can run these to the same Lee controllers that I'm using on the fans, and they will run these as well. All I'd have to do is add a JST output on the other side. So what we're going to do is modifying these strips a little bit. I've actually already cut them to size, and all I have to do is replace the connection to be a JST connection. So it'll be adding 3 of these to each fan, running them out the back into my JST connector. I believe I'm going to use the same controller that's running my CPU fans up top here, because it won't really matter because I can control it all within the software on the computer, but it will keep it off of the controller that's running everything else, because I've got all these 3 fans here, these 2 fans, and those 4 running on the other controller, and as well as this strip running to the Lee controller. And I want to go ahead and not overload any controllers just in case. This way I won't have to worry about that. So the first part we have to do is remove the fans. There's 3 little screws that hold the fan in place, and you can see those screws right between the blades. Remove that, pull the fan gently out of the way, keeping in mind to not mess up any of the wiring. Now behind the fan there is this ring, and all you have to do is just tap that ring with the screwdriver and a hammer, and it should slide right out to the side. You want to move it clockwise. All right, next we're going to grab this strip. Now I'm using shrink tubing to hold the strip together to make it somewhat of a halo. Clear shrink tubing will work better in this case, but all I had was black, so that's what I went with. And then just fishing the wires down and feeding the halo right around the fan, just like that. Now I like to use Gorilla Glue contact adhesive a lot. I will use it in this case just to hold that strip to the back, so once it dries I know that it's not going to move forward. Now I am having to extend the screws a little bit to make sure that the fan does not rub on any of the strips. And you can see the screws in the back there. I'm using M2.5 screws and nuts, and then I'll screw them into the holes that the original screws attached to. So now we're back to the bottom of the GPU. I pulled it out so you can get a better look. I am just going to be splicing these together, so all 3 will be spliced together into one wire, and that wire will run out to the back of the computer, and just fishing it back to my controller, which in my case is in the back of the case. Now I am actually creating JST connections. If you were to get one of our kits,
They will have connections on them, so you won't have to worry about this kind of stuff. And test fire up, everything looks good.
So I got the fans in, everything's looking really good on them. I'm super happy with the way it came out. The modification part wasn't too bad. Do keep in mind, anytime that you're doing something like this inside of a computer, really anything, you are taking some risk of possible issues. There's always a potential for a nicked wire, something to not work right, the cooling to be a little bit affected. These are all things that you have to keep in mind if you're going to do something like this. I'm not responsible if something happens, we'll put it that way. But in the end, I do think that the added lighting around the halos is helping to elevate that section quite a bit. It would be nice if the entire fans lit up like the rest of the fans in the case. That's a lot more involved to do. It's not really something that I want to do right now, but it might get done in the future. You never know. But for now, I'm pretty happy with this, pretty happy with the way that it turned out, and we'll be moving on to the next lighting upgrade. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, like. Definitely check out nextlevelneo.com. These strips I will have in the description where you can buy a kit. It's specifically for a dash of car, but the strips work very well, and they are the same color order as the rest of the computers, so they work well. Thanks for watching.